Hi, Sanna here. I'm here to share some techniques I like to use with stencils. I'm using the Crafters Workshop stencils on this video, and these are all from their newest collection. And what I'm doing here is I'm using a pencil and using the stencil as a drawing guide to later then cut these areas off with a precision knife. And I'm just randomly drawing the flowers onto a piece of white watercolor paper. I like to use watercolor paper because it's easier to use different media on it due to it's a little bit thicker, and I prefer it for instead of normal regular cardstock. And I've moved the stencil around to get a wide variety of different sizes of flowers on different areas, and then I'm just using a porcelain precision knife. That's the one I have and I like to use. I recommend you using a precision knife or small scissors that you usually like to use for this purpose. And when you're done with the cutting, which obviously takes a while, you can use the paper as it is and place a pattern paper underneath, or a sprayed piece of paper, or anything you prefer. And you can take the pencil lines away by using an eraser, so that's really easy to do. Only the cutting takes a little while, but it is a fun technique. So next I'm just going to use another stencil with some distress inks. So I'm placing the stencil over the piece of watercolor paper again, and then I'm just starting to apply a pink distress ink through the stencil with a blending tool onto the paper. And you could adhere the stencil to the working surface so that keep it from moving around while you're adding the distress ink. But if you just hold it with your fingers, that works as well. It's not that difficult, and this is the result you get. So you can use only one color, or you can mix colors, and I've used pink and orange and blue on this one. And then you have all this nice ink on the stencil. Don't clean it yet. Use a little bit of water spray. Spray it with water, and then place it the other way around onto the watercolor paper. Use a brayer or just use your hands to apply the ink to the paper, and then let it dry. And you get a second image, a negative image, so to say. And that's a really nice technique, and you can use all the ink so nothing goes to waste. And next I'm going to use some pastes. There are several kinds of pastes at the market at the moment. There are embossing pastes and glitter pastes and iridescent pastes, like this one. This is from Imagine Crafts, and it has a little shine to it, so when it dries it adds a little iridescent shine, and it looks really nice. Sorry, that was my mobile phone. I'm going to turn it off. And here I'm applying some texture paste. It's a regular white one. You can get it at the craft store or at your favorite scrapbook store. It's just a no-name. You can use the one you want, the one you prefer. And this one is a Ranger. I think it's from Wendy Wecke, embossing paste, which dries clear, and you can use it like the heat embossing powder. It's the similar effect you get with it. And you can mix it with colors. You can color it with acrylic paste or spray inks or whatever you want. And this one is glitter paste. You can buy these ready mixed, or you can mix yourself some with your own fine glitter. I'm sharing that technique with you later. And what you need to do after applying the paste, you just remove the stencil carefully, let the paste dry, air dry, and then make sure you clean the stencil, because it's easier to use it afterwards when the surface has no residues on it. And this is what the result looks like. Let's move to the next one. Here I'm just going to make a little resist technique, which I'm doing with gesso. I'm just applying some gesso through the stencil onto the watercolor paper, and applying it with foam brush. And you just dab it in there. That's really easy to do. And then make sure when you're done, you let it dry properly before you go to the next phase. So this is what it looks like. And next I'm using a Versamark ink, and I'm creating a heat embossed background with the stencil. So you place the stencil over the paper, then you just apply the ink, which will cover the areas, the open areas with the Versamark ink, and then you can go over and apply embossing powders and heat set them. And just make sure you cover all open areas with the ink to get an even image, and then just start applying embossing powders. Here I'm using 4 different ones, and these are totally random colors. I just grabbed the colors I had at hand at the moment, so never mind the horrible color combination. And you just apply only, for example, only one color, or you can go with several colors and create really nice shadow effects and different areas with different tones. And you just basically apply the powder, and after applying it, you just heat set it with a heat gun. But be careful that you don't burn your fingers, because the powder gets hot and the heat gun gets hot. And make sure you don't ruin your working surface. Make sure it's heat safe, because I managed to ruin one of my working surfaces with the heat gun. So make sure you don't make the same mistakes I did. So here I'm just heat setting it. It starts to melt. It turns a little bit more shiny. Here you can see it, the gray turning a little bit more shiny. It really doesn't take that long. It works really fast. And when it's heat set, here you can see the nice shine. When it's heat set, nothing comes off anymore. And next I'm using a little stamping technique. For this purpose you have to adhere the stencil and the paper down to the working surface so that it does not move, because then you get a more even image. So you just take a small stamped image that fits into the open areas, and I've chosen this cross stitch kind of image, and I'm applying greenish ink here, and I'm just making sure it goes to all the corners and edges of the open areas of the stencil. And this is a kind of squared, abstract squares pattern, I think, that I'm using here. And first I'm using the green ink, and then I'm changing over to a gray one and applying again, just stamping through the stencil. So only the areas that are open will take the ink. And I've also used a pink distress ink, which is a water-based ink, so you have to be careful what you apply over the area after, because it's going to react with moisture. And then I'm just outlining the stencil areas from further interest. And you could leave it like this, but I think I'm going to try another technique. I'm going to apply some embossing paste over the areas to make them resist any further media I'm going to apply later. And I'm just applying the paste with a palette knife and then letting it air dry, and then going back to it when it's all dry. And after the paste, remember to clean the stencil. It's nicer to use it when the surface has no residues on it. So then just remove the stencil and leave it to air dry. And that's it. Looks really nice. And here's a really basic technique. You just place a stencil over a paper and use a spray ink. To get a nice even image, you have to make sure you don't go too near the paper. Leave a distance about 10 inches, I would say, If you get color concentrations like that, where I showed it, then the color will bleed under the stencil and the effect is not that nice. And then just turn the stencil over, place your paper underneath and go over with your brayer to get the residue ink off the stencil, and you have a nice negative image. And you can also apply other stencil residues over this layer to create several layers at once. And next I'm going to use my Big Shot and these really small stencil pieces. They are called bits and fragments, I think. And I'm applying a foam underneath to get a deeper image. And then I'm just rolling it through the Big Shot. And later on you will see that I have dry embossed image on my piece of paper. And that you can use as it is, or you can color it in. You could even add some color splatters or whatever you want. It's a really nice effect you can create, and it's really easy to do. And next I'm just going to use the same idea, but I'm going to apply some spray ink over the piece of stencil. So I'm going to spray it with a pink Tattered Angels spray ink. It's a nice color. And the hard part is to pick up the wet stencil without getting your fingerprints all over. And you just spray it, then you pick it up, and you place it the wet side down onto the paper, and then you just build your sandwich to roll through the Big Shot, and you can roll it back and forth to get a better image, to make you sure that all the color gets into the paper. And when you take it out, and it's a watercolor paper which soaks the color better, and you get really nice images, and it even looks a little bit like a letterpress image in the end. And next I'm using a flower stencil with a wax crayon and creating a resist image of the flowers. So you just rub the wax crayon onto the paper through the stencil to get the pattern. And then you can go over that area with, for example, distress inks or spray ink. And the areas that are treated with wax crayon will not take the color, they will resist the color. And then you get this really cool effect. That's it, there's the flower. And next, another fun technique is to use watercolors with stencils. So you just basically place the stencil over a piece of watercolor paper and then start applying watercolors through the open areas onto the paper. And that creates a really nice pattern. And you can use only one color, or you can combine different colors and different tones, just the way you like to, what you want to create in the end. And I'm using greens and purples and blues and some light orange, or is that a golden tone? And this is how the pattern looks like in the end. I really like this effect, and it's really easy to do. It has a really nice shine to it. These watercolors have a little shine to them, so it creates a really nice shiny background effect. And next, another stencil from the Crafters Workshop. Like I said, these are all by the Crafters Workshop from their recent collection. And I'm using them with pan pastels. These are powdered inks, so they're loose pigments, and you just use a foam applicator to apply them to the paper, and a little bit of pan pastels goes a long way. so you don't have to take a big scoop out from your colors, just slight dabbing. And I'm using peach and purple and yellow tones on this one. And to make sure that it doesn't smear, you can add a fixative or a little bit of hairspray over the layer when you start working with that one. So here I'm applying some blue distress ink over the gessoed image, which we did previously, and then you will see that these gessoed areas really start to show because they resist the color. And you can even go over the gessoed areas with a damp baby wipe or a damp cloth and remove a little bit of the color, because it's not going to stick onto these areas, and it's a water-based ink, so it's easy to remove. And this is what I'm doing here right now. That's a really fun and easy technique to use with stencils too. And now the pastes are dry already, and this is the iridescent paste that has this nice purplish shine to it. It looks gorgeous on a black background. I recently created a few cards on black cardstock, and it looks absolutely gorgeous. I love that product. And what I'm doing now is I'm applying some water onto the paper, and then I'm applying to give it a little bit interest. I'm applying various tones of watercolor, blues, and I think it was blue and green and purple that I applied here. Yeah, so just randomly applying some color here and there. You could also use spray inks or another color, whatever you have at hand. What's your favorite product works really well with this. Or you could leave it as it is. You don't have to use anything there. You can leave just the pastes just as they are. So now just leave it to air dry, and then you're good to go with that one. You can create a nice card or whatever you want to do. And this is the dry embossed image. This is the back side, the side where the image is standing out a little bit, and I'm just applying some orange distress ink over the areas and fading it towards the edges, so the ink sticks properly to the areas that are dry embossed, so they will turn out darker than the other areas. And I really like this effect. It looks really, really nice. And then I'm just applying some water droplets, because it's distress ink. The water will let the orange ink vanish, and it just adds a little bit of interest to the background. And this is the stamped and embossed pasted background, and I'm now spraying some green Tattered Angels spray ink over the background and just leaving it to dry. And here I'm applying some embossing paste through a stencil on a piece of paper. And next I'm taking distress glitter, which is you can even heat it, it doesn't melt when heated. And the best way to apply it is just pour it over the area and dab the residue off. And you can create really nice glitter effects. And when it's dry, it will stick to the area and will not drop off. And next I'm creating glitter paste, and for that I'm using the same embossing paste, and then I'm applying some, I think it's dark golden glitter all over the paste, and I'm mixing them together with a palette knife. And when this paste is applied through the stencil, it looks a little bit dull, but when it's dry, it has this gorgeous shine again, and it will not make a mess, it will not drop off, it will not end up being in your hair and all over the place. So I really like to use the fine glitter in this way. And here I'm just applying it and removing the stencil. And when it's dry, it looks absolutely gorgeous. And you can only a little bit goes such a long way, as you can see. And here another basics easy technique to use is to add some texture or structure paste. I don't know how you want to call it. This one is called structure paste. It's just a regular white paste that you can add some texture to your backgrounds or on your canvases or whatever you want to create. So I'm just basically using a palette knife and applying it through the stencil onto the pattern paper. And if you have older stash, this is a perfect way to give them a new look. And here again, another stencil, another paper, but the same idea. And you can even mix this structure paste with acrylic paints or spray inks to create a new color, a new tone. So you basically need a white one and then you just go on from there, mixing it with different media. And this is what it looks like. And then just remember to clean the stencil afterwards. And next I'm using this particular stencil as a doodling guide. So I'm outlining first the areas what I want to add some Zentangles or doodles in. I'm just using a water resistant black pen here. And then I'm applying all kinds of tangles and patterns into the areas, inside the areas I outlined previously. And this is what it looks like then. It's a fun idea, fun technique to do. And next I've sprayed a watercolor paper with green spray ink, and now I'm applying some Dina Wakley acrylic paint through the stencil here and there with a foam brush, and you can add several layers. Just use a heat gun to dry the first layer and then move over to the next one. I'm using orange and pink, and I was too lazy to grab another foam brush, so I'm using the edges of the one I used with the turquoise color, and it works. You don't need to. You can improvise. Just make sure you wash the brush after you've used it with all these colors, because you don't want to. Maybe you want to use it again. And here I'm doing the same. I'm just looking for a clean corner of my brush and applying the pink color. And that's it. It really creates nice background effects. I love using stencils. They are so easy and fun to use. And then just let it dry or heat set it, and it's good to go. And here are all the cards. I think there are 15 I created. This is the one with the distress glitter and the pan pastels on the background. This one is the watercolor background, and I've just outlined with black pen. And these are the ones that I created with the stamping technique. I just used bits and pieces because it was a bold pattern, so I just wanted to use a little bit, as you can see here. And this is the cutout, and I've just sprayed it with a purple ink. And this one is embossing powder, heat set, and then I've used spray ink on it. This is the dry embossed one I showed you previously. And then this is the distress ink applied through the stencil. And then I've just added some flowers and some glitter glue and some stamping there. This is the paste background with the watercolors, and the butterflies are from the previous card. So I've used all the bits and pieces that were left over from creating the cards. Nothing goes to waste here. And then this is the dry embossed one. I've just added some silver splatters and sentiments to go with it. The next one is the acrylic paint layers, and this is the negative image of the spray ink and a piece of gessoed background. So this is the resist part here. And the butterflies are from the dry embossed striped paper I created with the strange color combination. And this is the gesso background with distress ink. Here is the spray ink background, the yellow one, and some butterflies from the stamped background. And this is the one with the handmade glitter paste and the embossed background. And this is the negative image of the distress ink stencil I applied with the brayer, and there you can also see some fine glitter paste that I did and applied to the paper. And I've colored this doodle background with some yellow watercolor for more interest. And this is the letterpress image. I've adhered it with a 3D foam to give it more, to just make it stand out more. And then finally, here's a layout I created with the texture paste papers, so you can see how you can use them on a layout. I hope you have enjoyed watching these techniques. Like I said previously, I think there are so many ways to use stencils. There are way more ideas and techniques and combinations you can do. This is just a small selection, but I hope it encourages you to try out more, try out your stencils, use them in various ways, and just enjoy the process, and maybe you discover some new ways to use them while you're at it. So I hope you've enjoyed this video, and thanks for watching, and hope to see you at visit my blog. The link is at the end of this video. Thanks for watching. Bye!